Guys, welcome back to the Kind of Funny Gamescast. As always, I'm Tim Gettys, joined by one of the coolest dudes in video games, Greg Miller.
I've been saving this Busan coffee for this Avengers review, but you guys had to review Mulan. But now it's go time, Andy. How many times can I crush it now, Andy?
Keep going.
Just keep going.
I'll crush it later. I'll crush it later. If I crush it one continuously time, that's once.
Okay. Yes, that's true. We have the Nitro Rifle joining us for a very rare Kind of Funny Gamescast appearance. How are you doing, Andy Cortez?
I'm doing great, Tim. Haven't eaten, but I'm doing all right.
Yeah, well, you'll get there eventually. It's been a rough day here at Kind of Funny because Mulan came out and we're like, oh shit, we have to watch it, review it, and now Gamescast, but it's okay. You can go watch Mulan and Review 2020 edition over on youtube.com/kindoffunny. Check it out. Please, we need the views. We also have Mr. OK Beast, Blessing Adeoye Jr. Blessing, I saw your tweet. I saw that. You sit here. You've been here, what, fucking nine months now? Almost. Mr. Professional Host, Blessing, still fucking up your intro.
Listen, wow. I've never claimed to be professional once. I don't know why you would put that on me.
Honestly, though, that's what makes you a professional, is having enough experience to fuck up your intros using your last place of employment in your intro.
Exactly.
If you don't know what I'm referring to, go check out Blessing's Twitter at Blessing Jr.
At Blessing Jr. Blessing, at Game Over Blessing. Yeah. If you go there, I was doing a video for a friend that was like, hey, like for our outlet, we're doing like a thing to get people to go vote and stuff. And so if you can record like a minute of you talking about why people should vote, that'd be awesome. And so I start recording it, and within the first 4 seconds, I'm like, oh, what's up? My name is Blessing Adeoye from OK. And I was like, oh, fuck. Mid OK Beast, I was like, fuck, man. It's been 9 months. 9 months and I can't shake it.
I miss him.
Yeah, I'm going back to you, Greg, for a second. Like,
thank you. Hey, everybody, it's me, Greg Miller from kindoffunny.com.
How many years has it been, though, that we've been gone from IGN? But how many times do you still say IGN? Be honest.
Say it, I would say once every few months, maybe once every 6 months. However, writing something and writing IGN, when I mean ing, when I'm trying just to write a word, all the time. And then when we talk about IGN, saying we, as if I still work there.
And that's where I'm at. It's like I wasn't on camera enough at IGN to like always have that intro kind of embedded in my mind. But the we thing is still very true.
Right. It's like the Manson family over there. You never get out.
And it blew my mind. I mean, I don't want to directly segue from what you just said into what I'm about to say.
Stop looking at the
camera. Never. I'm just saying, a lot of people need to still pay attention to the Manson family. I think we've forgotten about them.
Oh my God, man!
Busan!
Everything I'm saying, it's just like I want to separate it just a little bit from that. But I want to give a shout out to IGN because they just did their Gamescom coverage, and IGN has been kind of intrinsically connected to Gamescom the last couple of years of doing all of the post Jeff Keighley Game Awards side of the whole thing.
Connected.
Like
the Can we be honest? A little too connected. Yeah. Let's be honest here.
All right, guys. You know what? I'm trying to give them a lot of fucking props here. All right. They deserve the props. They put on a good show. They did a lot of good work, especially this year, all from home and all that stuff. But they put a credits line in the end of the show this year. I don't know if any of you saw this on Twitter, but I want to give a shout out for that because I think that's huge. And I think that us at Kind of Funny, we value every single member of our content team equally. And I hope that we talk about Cool Greg just as much as we talk about Greg Miller. You know what I mean? Like there needs to be some type of system here. But no, real talk though, it's like I feel like I enjoy this level of giving credit to the people that are behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, all of the different scenes, and seeing this credit list from IGN, I was like, oh my God, this is kind of heartwarming, where it's the first time I've ever seen a games outlet put that type of credit to the people that are doing the video editing, the people that are doing the social media coverage, the people that are doing all this other stuff. And I was very, very impressed to see it all. And I was also very shocked to see that I recognized very few names on that list. And that's the thing that made me realize, like, damn, like I can't believe I still sometimes fuck up saying we when it is so much not a we anymore. Like I am so not a part of even the DNA of what that used to be.
Yeah,
like
sure.
Whoever they are doing great work, but it's like, damn. Anyway, shout out to you guys at IGN.
But to be very clear, you're making the point. Yeah, IGN is doing a great job, and we don't know them anymore. So if it turns out one of them is like the new Manson family, we didn't know. That's just what we call a friendly coinky dink that I'm bringing it up. And it turns out Zach Ryan over there is leading a new cult. I don't know.
Greg, fun fact: one of Paula's distant relatives is one of the Manson girls that got arrested.
And you can't trust her, am I right?
Can't trust her, no.
Thank you.
Yep. What a great segue. Ladies and gentlemen, let me
Did we introduce Imran?
To the former informer, Imran Khan. You can't trust him. You know what I mean? Here's Imran with all of his industry secrets, and he won't tell us shit. You know what I mean?
Was the implication there that I'm one of them? I could be part of the Manson family?
Hey, I'm not trying to say shit.
Look at that beard.
Yeah, the beard doesn't help my argument, honestly.
Red walks by like these flowing white robes.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. I've been thinking about the Mario thing. Moon. Oh yeah,
you've been thinking about what?
The Mario thing a lot.
Yeah.
Like that forced scarcity bullshit they're pulling. Yeah. Like that's been my last 2 days to think about. Like, why would they do this? And every answer has been like, not good ideas, but like generally pretty bad. Like, they want people to spend money right now, kind of thing.
There it is. Tim tried to get around it. Tim tried to say Nintendo would never do that. They donate their money. And I'm like, I don't think that's true. And he's like, for every game that you buy, they buy a left shoe and send it to an orphanage. And I'm like, that doesn't sound right either.
A left shoe.
Boots on.
I'm gonna flip this a little bit. This is an episode very much for kind of funny enthusiasts, people that are here that understand our brand in every single way. If you're just listening to Kind of Funny Gamescast, you don't listen to the other content. I'm gonna say right now, go listen to the Gamescast episode from Thursday, Games Daily episode from Thursday this week, where I gave my full review of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. You can listen to my impressions there. Instead of doing them here, listen there. It's all there. Me and Greg talked about all the Nintendo buffoonery that is going on with this Mario 3D All-Stars business. And I don't want to go too deep because I want to keep the church and state separated when it comes to what these shows are with PS I Love You, Kind of Funny Xcast, Kind of Funny Games Daily, Kind of Funny Gamescast. This is very much going to be the Avengers review so far. But to open it up, Imran, I do want to give you a platform to speak on the Nintendo buffoonery that is Mario 3D All-Stars. Please go.
It's so like I can understand most of that stuff, but like I was just saying on Twitter, like I don't understand why they're doing this till March 31st, and everyone just kept responding like it's an anniversary product. They do that, but that doesn't make any sense. Like, no, you don't do that for anniversary product. Like, just because you've done a dumb thing before doesn't mean you keep doing the dumb thing, and that excuses the previous dumb thing and this current dumb thing. I've tried that; it doesn't work. So them doing this for Mario is just so confusing to me.
They should have stopped it on March 5th, and it would have been 3-5. Like, oh, that's why. 3-5.
March 10th, Mario Day.
Mario.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Like that at least makes some weird, dumb.
What better way to honor him than ripping his games off? Making him say you can no longer play them.
On your birthday, people pretend you're dead for a day. That's what they should do for Mario.
Get back to the toy box, old man. It makes no sense, dude.
Like if it was the thing of like, oh yeah, we're producing physical only, and we're going to only produce so many copies or whatever, that still wouldn't make sense. But that at least get a little bit closer to me being like, all right, I guess I get it, collector's item, whatever. But like, and I tweeted this, and I feel like people didn't get it when I tweeted it. But still, like, how are you going to limit something that's digital? Like, it's not like you have a limited amount of downloads people have for this thing. It's not like you don't own the IP. Like, it's Mario.
They made a limited amount of keys, Bless. They made a limited amount of keys.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Wait, Imran, did you say that people ignore you on your birthday?
No, I was saying that should be what you should do for your birthday is like pretend someone's dead. Like just give them their like Tom Sawyer funeral kind of thing. That's what we should do for Mario.
Holy shit, that sounds like a lot of fun.
That sounds awesome.
If you guys want, I'm totally down on March 3rd, 2021 to hold Mario's funeral.
Yes, let's do it.
Okay.
But yeah, that sounds great.
Here's the question. Can we get it trending? Like, that's the thing is, can we get, like, if hashtag Mario is trending, he's either canceled or dead. Can we make it so that he's dead and not canceled?
It's just gonna be hard to boil this part of the conversation down into something that's digestible for somebody at a glance of, wait, why are they doing a funeral? Oh, because on September 4th, 2020, Imran said that birthdays should be treated like funerals, like Tom Sawyer.
I tell you what,
figure out a catchier way to explain that.
I'll tell you what, I think we could now, since he doesn't work there anymore, Reggie Fils-Aimé could possibly be maybe he could do a eulogy.
He's got to eulogize him.
Oh, 100%.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
Tim, what do you got? You got something to say? Or is
no.
That was
just
excitement.
No, I'm in a weird place where normally I'm in one of the wide screens, so I can throw my hands up like the I don't know face, and I have more room. But like in the square, I gotta go like
but
this.
Here you're like,
so it's like it looks like I'm raising my hand, but I'm not, because this is the Kind of Funny Gamescast each and every week right here on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. We get together to talk about video games and all the things that we love about them. You can support the show by going to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, just like our Patreon producers, of which there are many this month. And thank you for that. Muhammad, Tom Bach, Skin Tight Salmon, Jeffrey, P. Long. Never forget the
P. Long.
Exactly.
We call them PP Long Stockings, don't we, Blessing?
Yeah, we do.
Julian, the gluten-free gamer, Sancho West Gaming, and James Hastings. And I don't want to forget, get healthy with Hiram at gmail.com. Hiram is spelled Hyrum. So get healthy with Hiram at gmail.com.
Why did he want his email address? Why did he want his email address?
I don't know. I don't know. You might need to email him to ask him. You know what I mean? Like,
that's a good question.
What Joey gave me. So I feel like he wants that extra special shout out.
Here's what I'm going to say.
He has to get a new email now.
No, I'm just saying right now, I'm putting it out there. I love this, and I'm looking for a best friend to up the ante. In October, I want Tim to read a full phone number. Brought to you by 630.
Or like an OkCupid like profile URL.
I want a social security number at some point.
Greg, you just said October. Yeah. And I thought to myself, oh, I think these are like quarterly things, right?
That's monthly, baby.
And for a second I was like, oh, we're in May, so the quarter, I guess it ended up, man, oh my gosh, you just like fucked my head right there. My head was fucked.
September right now. Like, yes. How crazy is that to you guys?
I thought we'd be back in the office in March.
We felt that way, right?
Like, it was supposed to be like 2 to 3 weeks. Yeah.
We are still home from new consoles.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Probably. Dude, it's really probably. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, probably. I believe it. But
ostensibly, yes.
I don't like that I throw my hands up and no one sees it. They just see my fucking
Why are you widescreen? What's going on? Why are the lights off in the back? What's happening there? You look like you're broadcaster from an emergency shelter rather than your nice thing.
That's a good question. I didn't realize the lights were off. What colors do you guys want right now?
Well, it's Avengers, so let's go like red and blue.
Yeah, red and blue, yeah.
Tim, you're getting the widescreen treatment. Sorry, man. You've been relegated. All of minorities up top in the fucking small squares, dude.
Yeah, minorities on top. Damn. It's a message, guys. Learn to hear the message.
A younger Greg Miller would try to make a lot of jokes about this right now. But
older Greg Miller learned to be quiet.
Greg Miller to sit here and think about Busan coffee.
There we go.
It's a smart call. It's a smart call.
There's the red, white, and blue for you guys.
There you go.
The
even
white coming from the
even
sides.
though Tim's framing is really bad, but it's awesome.
Yeah, you know.
And Kevin, that's not your fault though. I'm blaming Tim.
But he's gonna blame me.
Plant in the shot. Okay.
Tim was like real close to the camera.
You know what's funny is that this is because Andy made the frames on the bottom small again, which is fine. Andy, I think this is the right size.
Did I?
Well, right? Don't these match? He wanted them even longer than this. Otherwise, it would include the light.
I have had too long a day, ladies and gentlemen, to fucking deal with this shit right now.
What I'd like here, just take your foot off the gas for a second.
Shot, or I don't want to be part of this fucking show. Okay, Kevin? Thank you.
Just two things to bring up, and this isn't about you anymore, Tim. Just kick your feet up. What I really would want to do is punch all the way in on Tim's face, and I think it would make sense because then he would look like MODOK in this review, and he'd be all fucking right there in the square.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
Kevin, you could also.
I made that joke.
You could scale it wide. You could scale it wide as well.
You didn't talk about zooming in though.
Okay.
Actually, no, I didn't hear that.
Every audio listener would be like, what the fuck are they talking about?
And that was my other thing I wanted to call out is that earlier when we were really getting off the rails, when I was crushing a can and screaming and shit, Tim was like, hey, hold on a second. If you're not familiar, I was like, oh, that's a smart call. This is going to be titled Avengers Review. Probably going to bring in a bunch of people who don't know who we are. And Tim just instead used it to promote the Kind of Funny Games Daily about Mario. And then we were our bullshit.
We're now 15 minutes into this show.
If you made it this far and you're a new listener, you're a Kind of Funny best friend, fucko. You can't get out now. It's too late. You love this shit.
Saying, man.
Don't call them fuckos.
I'm sorry, everybody.
Fun,
I'm so sorry.
It's awesome. But no, let's talk about Avengers. You already know the rigmarole that I didn't get to. watch the show, listen to the show. I don't give a fuck. Do it. Just
Jesus
Christ.
Oh, we are having a
Somebody's
fun
pausing
Friday
right now and going to Easy Allies. Somebody's like, I've had enough. I'm gonna go hear what Brayden Jones has to say.
Let's get serious, okay?
Stop. Right, tighten it up. Tighten it up.
Who here has beaten Avengers? Raise your hand.
Nice, Andy. Look at
Andy
that pro gamer.
and Greg have both raised their hand.
Yes.
It's not that long, y'all.
So before we
I'm almost there.
Okay, Blessing, where are you? Like, what percentage
I
do you think you are?
What I always say, the easiest spoiler-free way for somebody who obviously you're gonna play as all the Avengers in this game. So I say the spoiler-free way is like, what's the last hero you unlocked, Blessing?
I have all the Avengers.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah. So I think I'm like right before the last mission because Jarvis was just like, we're about to go on our last mission, which makes me all right, we're right there.
Oh shit's happening. All right.
Because we're gonna do a spoiler cast next week where we go like a lot deeper into the story elements and all of that for Avengers that's out now. So this week's more top level, what we're thinking about the game, how we feel about the story ideas and the gameplay itself.
This
Imran,
is
where
Infinity
you
War
at?
to Endgame next week.
Exactly.
I just got Black Widow.
Okay.
Kevin, where are you? Because I know you've been playing this a lot as well.
So I have been playing this a lot, but I haven't gotten too much done. I think that I've played a couple of the Iron Man missions. Like that's the last person I unlocked, but I'm probably close to unlocking the next person is what I'm saying.
Gotcha.
I think I'm in the exact same place that Kevin is.
All
so
right.
I'm right there. And the reason for that is Tony Hawk has taken over my life. Fucking play.
Sure,
Tony
you've been
Hawk's
working on
Pro
2
Skater.
reviews.
What an amazing remake that is.
I don't know why I thought we had to beat it, but so like I plugged away in it, bro. And granted, it wasn't very long. Like
about 10 hours, right?
I feel like I put in around maybe 10 hours. Yeah. But I did totally main path everything. I did not do any of the side stuff except for, I guess you're kind of required to do one side thing before the final mission. They're kind of like, hey, we need some resources to do some stuff. And you go do those things.
Hey, you want to get us the stuff to do the thing? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So again, we're trying to stay spoiler free, and I mean that kind of nebulously for this because Avengers
we're not going to go into story spoilers.
Yeah, exactly. It's like there's certain things that we're trying to like, don't spoil people on. But I want to start with Greg and Andy here. Specifically,
hey,
Greg, let's go with you.
Hi, how are you?
What are your thoughts about Avengers? You've beat the game now. I know going into it, you were kind of like you were higher than I would say any of us were.
What I would say, the way I describe it coming in is that coming off the beta, some people came off the beta and were like, "Oh my god, this is just a button masher. Oh my god, this isn't what I want to play at all." Obviously, there's plenty of technical problems.
Say my name.
No, you had your little earworm you put into Andy's ear, and he's like, "Yeah, you're right. It is all the same." And then when I played with when Andy came back for the next part of the preview, or when we did the stream, he's like, I was just doing the same mission over and over again. That's on me. Yeah. Coming into it, I thought that it was hard to say because looking at it and playing it and all that other stuff, we were all looking at it going like, okay, this isn't a 9 out of 10. This isn't going to be a game of the year candidate, but I was having fun with it and I wanted that kind of experience. And I think the big question was, how is that story mode going to be? How are they going to usher us into the multiplayer? And then what is that going to be like in an end game fashion? And now that I beat the story Wednesday morning after getting the code on Monday evening, and then I've played multiplayer since then. So I've got to be, we'll say pushing 30 hours of the total game right now. 20 of that being, that sounds a lot, but I have been playing literally if I'm not on a show, I'm playing or talking to my wife. So yeah, like for me personally, the takeaway from it is it has exceeded my expectations. I love this game. However, there is a ton to criticize and a ton of different things. And it did launch, I think every games as service we talk about, it launched with a whole bunch of stuff like, they really didn't think of this. They really didn't have more hallways for these aim things. They really didn't have more mission structures for how we're going to go through and do this. Obviously, the stuff we've talked about from the beta of not having a radar, not having a ping system, all these different things that get there. But that said, none of that has stopped me from playing it, or wanting to play it, I should say. Like, before this, I was playing with my friend Sean. After this, I'm probably gonna cook dinner, but after that, right back to playing. Jen and I, she's, of course, it's the fucking quarantine. She doesn't want me to die of a heart attack from sitting around here like a slug. She's dragging me on a hike in the morning, but then I've told her 1 to 7 p.m. I'm playing Avengers tomorrow on Saturday, and then when you go to bed again, like.
Greg, can you answer me one question?
I sure can, Andy.
When you go on a hike, are you driving somewhere to then hike, or are you just hiking immediately?
God damn.
It depends. It depends on where we're hiking. We're staying in the city tomorrow, so there's no car needed.
Okay.
Does that answer the question?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. Why do you think do you think like I should hike to the hike? Is that you
there's
think
definition of urban hiking?
I wasn't sure if you were like. I wasn't sure if you were, urban hiking, or if you were like go for a walk. Yeah, obviously there's a lot of like steep hills here in San Francisco, but I wasn't sure if you're driving to a hiking spot, then doing the
driving to a hiking spot,
the tree in the dirt, all that stuff.
Exactly. The big part for Jen is to get out of the city, get out to nature.
Okay,
she's a country kid. She wants to be surrounded by nature, whereas I just want technology, and I basically want to be those creatures, those people, I guess you call them, from Up that sit there. Right? No, wait, no. What's the one with the robot? That's not Up.
People, I guess.
Wally,
that's the one. I confuse it. I confuse them all the time.
I was like, dogs?
The people from Up. I just wanted to sit in the chair and go up the stairs.
Anyways, back to Avengers. Don't get me wrong. I think it's been. This is another conversation. I'm going on too long, I guess. But long and short of it,
I love it.
It's been fascinating this week to watch the different reactions to Avengers from, I think, Games Press, who weren't going to give it a chance before, or weren't going to give it a chance, saw the beta, saw reactions from it, like, not my cup of tea, and then how great the single player is to bring them in. I think it's interesting, in terms of, is it a button masher or is it not a button masher? The more I play it, and I'm maining Cap right now, the more I'm drilling into these skill trees, and I am having to sit there and go, okay, well, I need to catch my shield better and throw it back in a different timing to actually get the chain that I want. Like, it's all combo based and very interesting to get your intrinsic meters up and your Hurax going. To get off of me and get onto somebody else, right? Like, it's awesome for me. It's awesome for what I want. I was reading, I read Game Informer's review from Reiner is up full-fledged right now, 8.75 over there. IGN, Tom Marks is still doing a review in progress. His day 3 one is scathing of just like, I'm 30 hours in now, and holy shit, like, I'm so, like, why would I keep playing this game?
Yeah, it's a provisional 6 for IGN, which is bad. Like, for what he's playing.
Sure. Yeah. And then GameSpot was in between those two with their thing. I'm way more in line. I don't know how much, and I'm not trying to throw stones here. I'm not sure how much Reiner's review didn't go super into his end game experience. So I would say I'm more into where the GameSpot thing is, of enjoying it or whatever. But even that aside of a touchstone to it, like, for me, we talked about this with when Suicide Squad dropped the trailer for it, or actually the tease when it was just going to be Superman, and it was clear that we're going to try to kill him. And I was like, that's not the fantasy, man. The fantasy is being a superhero for me. And this game is providing that. And I understand people's critiques of, why am I grinding for this gear? I'm getting so much gear, but I'm not changing my looks to it. It's not like it's that big of a deal to get it. For me, I entered into this process with the Marvel Heroes Diablos mindset of, I'm not going to see my character. And then also the set of, and I know this is such a fucking Fran thing to say, and I'm so sorry, but the game doesn't start till I hit level cap, where people are like, why might I pay attention to these things? And I'm like, well, for me, I'm paying attention to the buffs and debuffs and what they do. And like, this is better for shock. This is better for fire. Planning on when I get to level cap with Cap and get to level cap with Kamala, that I'll then have to build out sets for those different things, and to have those sets of abilities and blah, blah.
I know you're trying to pass the buck, Greg.
Yeah,
I know you're trying to pass someone else, and we'll do that in 1 second. But I do have a question for you, because you said that you think that the story is great, that you think the campaign is great.
Yeah. I mean, I'm hyperbole. Why you want to get into? You want to start a discussion there?
Just a bit more. Like, what do you think this game is? Because like, I do think that for everyone listening, the narrative of this game has been like initial tease, like back in 2017, whatever the fuck it was. Holy shit, this is awesome! I can't wait for it. Reveal of the game, ground, yeah. Exactly. Reveal of the game, like, oh no, this is a multiplayer game I don't want a part of.
Yeah,
and then the beta came out, or before that, there was more previews or more like things they showed, and it was like, no, this is Destiny. This is not Avengers that I want. The beta came out, and it won some people over, lost others. Like, the beta was kind of confusing, I think. But then
100%.
This came out. The final thing got into reviewers' hands, and the Twitter narrative is, oh man, the campaign's great.
Yes.
What are your thoughts?
I love the campaign. It's just in the same way of the game. I think there's plenty to criticize. I think it is unabashedly Marvel comic book cheesy at times, which is a turn off to some and totally a turn on to me. Like, I think that entire opening 8A segment that leads into the bridge demo we've all seen multiple times, or we've played multiple times, depending on if you did stuff. Like, I think is so well done and set the stage so well. And granted, part of it's the pangs of like, oh man, I remember PAX. I remember going to things like this or wanting to be there. But putting that as the first thing, putting it all through the lens of Kamala Khan, and then jumping 5 years and putting us into her shoes and having us go off from there again. I think that during the 8A segment, I teared up. At the end of the game, like the literal last cutscene before credits, I teared up at too. Like, I think they do so many great storytelling things in there. I think the things I talked about leading into this, being hopeful that, well, they're getting a great voice cast. Hopefully they have great performances and great stuff there in story. I think that is there as well, where I think every one-on-one interaction the Avengers have with Kamala is great. And I think it's touching and I think it's cool. And I think there's this narrative that's there that does get me invested with them and helps me build who the Avengers are in this world. That said, I think there's plenty of stuff that's weird and it seems like stuff's been cut out. And the fact that the guy who's MODOK goes from I'm a guy to then calling himself MODOK and everybody's like, he's whatever, we're mad at you. And then I was playing with captions on and there's
no spoilers.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this isn't spoilers.
I'm just saying in case you go down that road.
That's fair. Thank you very much. But there's captions on for the character who's talking to him when he's like, I'm MODOK. And he goes, the caption says, oh, you're calling yourself MODOK now. And the character never says that.
So this is the thing I've noticed. I'm pretty sure they just copy pasted the entire like old pre-rewrite script onto the subtitles. Because I've noticed it's like, oh, this doesn't fit, or it's like including narration where it doesn't make any sense in like the scene you're watching. Yeah. And it's like, okay, this is not actually helping accessibility. So there's a lot of ways this game feels like it came in hot. That's one of the
totally.
That's one of the more obvious
what
ones.
I'm talking about with criticisms, like that is all there. I think the last, I would say 3, but one of them I'm counting multiple waves of. The last 3 boss fights, 2 of them are just like brain dead, and like it's like that. It's back to where we start with that Golden Gate Bridge segment we talked about before, Tim, where it's like, oh man, like this isn't an accurate representation of how these characters feel when you play the open world stuff or the multiplayer stuff, or even later on levels, right? And you get back to a giant fucking tank fight, right? And it's just like, wow, all of a sudden, not only am I not being challenged by any of this, like this is just boring. And then you go on into the final fights and it's like, you do a bunch of stuff. And I think the final fight's fine, but it's more of a cinematic thing than it is this. There's another one where it's just like, you're back to that Golden Gate Bridge thing of like, all right, Iron Man, do this. And it's like, oh, this kind of sucks. Like this isn't what he would do, but that's all. I mean, I there's plenty to sit here and criticize and do stuff with. I still think the overall story was great.
Andy, you're the other person that beat the game. What are your thoughts?
I think it's good, not great. I think it is held up by really awesome voice acting and character interactions. I think the story's pretty cool. I mean, it reminds me a lot of like, well, no spoilers. But the story is interesting enough to sort of that kept me going along. It doesn't remind me of really any sort of story that's been attached to, I should say campaign rather, a games as a service game where I played this fully solo. I never felt the need to ever ask any of my friends for help, which I think is great because I just hate like, where are you at? I don't want to inconvenience you. You're probably ahead of me. Like, I just hate that whole back and forth. And the fact that I played this from start to end completely on my own. You always hear developers say, guys, don't worry, you could play the campaign on your own. And you always kind of roll your eyes like, okay, yeah, whatever. Like, I'm sure you're going to require some multiplayer stuff later on, but it's totally true. I played start to end all on my own, and I had fun with it. I would, if I were to put a number on it, I'd give it like a 7 out of 10 because this game feels like it's held together by fucking bubblegum and duct tape at times. Like a lot of the time, 100%. I would say rather 100%. Where this game reminds me a lot of Jedi Fallen Order, where just give it 6 more months, let it cook a little bit more, let QA a little bit more. Let's get some of these bugs out of here. The frame dips are just egregious at times, man. I know a lot of people performance mode or resolution mode. It shouldn't fucking matter. I shouldn't be dipping. I shouldn't be dipping to 10 frames per second on performance mode.
For me, it was every time I would bop. I'm the same way of Andy. Played the entire story mode solo. Didn't have anybody in it at all. But I'm having the exact same technical problems as well, where it would be that I would pop out to the PlayStation home screen. I would pop back in, whether it was I paused it or whatever. I was doing a message. I'd come back in and it would do that thing you sometimes see games do where I restart the cutscene and then it's almost like it's spinning its wheels where it got really, really framey and then it would speed the fuck up out of nowhere. Yeah. I would be playing the game totally fine, come in, the audio would completely cut. Like there would be no audio. I would have to quit, come back out. I was, in one of the hub worlds and I was sneaking around. And as I got to the final thing, I passed the guy, talked to one of the guys, and then they're like, oh, well, watch out for the next dude. And I think he activated where early, but since that guy was talking, I couldn't talk to that guy, so I couldn't get past him. Like, it was just like, okay, that's bad. I had to restart the checkpoint, come back in, do it all over.
Yeah, there are moments that you could tell that just weren't fully thought out, where there are tons of character interactions with just NPCs in the world where you talk to them and they are kind of either jumping into the future or back into the past based on where you are in the story thread, where you went to go do this thing and they'll be like, oh, make sure you talk to someone to go do that thing. It's like, I already talked to her. I guess I needed to talk to you first. And that happens quite a bit. I had Kamala Khan several times where her hair was just missing. I think that was like from the beta as well.
Yeah.
But I also had this crazy sequence that was funny, and I'm going to clip it out because it was funny on stream. I had unlocked Black Widow and I'm fighting off waves of enemies. By the way, Black Widow, probably my favorite to control. Her and Cap are like so much fun. Legitimately like having a lot of fun finding what my combos are going to be. And like, I don't know, she's just a blast to play as. But I had a whole like 2 enemies that are really, really highly shield played completely in slow motion. Not frame drops, but I did a final move where poof, slow motion, cool thing. I'm like, oh, that was cool. And the whole rest of it is for like 2 enemies. And I'm sitting there and I'm playing this on stream, and it took like maybe 5 minutes to get through all this, but all of it is slow motion. Like, this is fucking nuts. I hope it ends. And luckily, when I beat the final boss, because I was wondering the whole time, am I gonna have to just restart this?
Is this life now?
Am I just fucked? Yeah. But luckily, I beat the final boss, and it cut back to regular time. And then Laura Bailey was like, "Oh, it took you long enough." And I was like, "Wait, you were in slow mo, Laura Bailey." Yeah, I don't know, man. I had enough fun with it to where I could say this game is really good as a camp. I wouldn't say really good. It's good as a campaign. I enjoyed it. I love the characters. I love all their interactions. And the gameplay is definitely not just button mashy for me. I found a lot more intricacies in chaining together combos and making stuff fun. Like, I think the combat in this game is as fun and intricate as you want to make it.
Yeah, that's a great way.
And I had a blast with it, with a lot of the characters. I would say my favorite are like Black Widow, Cap, Iron Man. I didn't like Thor, and I thought I would. I was pretty bummed out I didn't like using him. And Hulk would probably be at the bottom. Kamala's near the top too. She's kind of fun to play with.
Hell yeah.
Bless. What are your thoughts on this?
I think this game is somehow good against all odds. Like, it's crazy how many nitpicks and how many genuine issues I have with it, but I've somehow ended up truly enjoying it. And I did not think I would coming out the beta. Like, this is a game that I stress, like, I very much wanted to like this game, and I very much really just wanted this game to be good. Like, I really wanted this game to be good. And coming out that beta, I kind of lost all hope, because I think what they had in the beta just wasn't great. Like, the missions they had were, I think those missions from the beta were a display of the repetition that you see people talk about, like, especially like Tom Marks in his review. He talked a lot about how, like, in the post game, the game kind of loses itself and kind of becomes very uninteresting. And that's kind of how I came out of the beta. Like, I was just like, yeah, at a certain point, these missions do feel samey to me. I don't care about pretty much what the missions are, right? Like Hulk's iconic mission versus whatever other side mission where I'm defending a thing. At a certain point, like, it all kind of boils down to the same thing to me of like, hey, yeah, go and beat up some robots and like hold down a fort or do whatever.
Sure.
That stuff still exists in this game, but I'm surprised at how much heart that this game seems to have, and that was not a thing I was expecting from it going into it. Like we talk about how so many people have good things to say about the campaign. That campaign to me is the savior of this game, and mainly Kamala Khan. Like Kamala Khan is such the savior to this game when it comes down to pretty much any of my critiques, right? Like one of my big critiques is that these Avengers very much seem like cosplay versions of the MCU Avengers. Like you can very much tell, like Hulk reminds me of Mark Ruffalo a bit. Iron Man reminds me of Robert Downey Jr. And I can pretty much take that and apply it to any one of the other Avengers. Kamala Khan kind of being that connecting piece between them, and her being that unique character that we've not necessarily have seen a huge portrayal of on screen.
Haven't we though? Isn't it just Spider-Man?
Well, I guess so, but I feel like Kamala Khan even more.
That's my critique of it. Is like it's just Spider-Man, and like she's dope. But
which Spider-Man? You mean like
Tom Holland?
Like Tom Holland.
I don't. But even I mean, we're splitting hairs here, and this might take it in a different direction. Feel free to stop me, Tim. But even then, I think that's Tom Holland getting to see that moment and have those moments with RDJ, right, as Iron Man. Like, I think it's different to see Kamala bounce off all of them in that A-Day thing. I think it's different to see her 5 years later and have some of them remember her, how it all plays out that way too, and be on the team with them. I mean, it's that weird thing where I think she's more wearing her fandom on her sash, you know what I mean? Like she's wearing it at right there, ready to go. She clearly is addicted to the Avengers in a way that, even though I think everybody in the MCU who was a normal person would love the Avengers, I don't think Tom Holland shared as much of.
And I think that the key difference is Tom Holland in the MCU, you could tell that there was kind of a little bit of an annoyance there as far as like how the Avengers would react to him. Specifically, like Tony Stark was like, oh yeah, I'm going to bring on Spider-Man because he's powerful. I need him on my team. But like Tony Stark didn't really want much to do with Spider-Man at first. And even Happy was just like, all right, kid, I'm here to watch over you because like you need to be watched over. But
this is the heartwarming one, right? Where I mean, I'm not, again, no spoilers, but she makes quick connections with all these Avengers.
Yeah, like everybody here loves Kamala Khan. Like everybody here pretty much immediately loves Kamala Khan, and like that's because her character is supremely lovable. And yeah, like she has personality. She's basically the main character of the story, which is a thing that I didn't expect going in. Like even coming out of the beta,
they didn't say.
Yeah, like they didn't market it at all,
which is. I don't know how intentional that is. I don't know if they thought people would be turned off because Kamala Khan, but she is the best part of this game.
100%. Like it is surprising how much her character then made me love the other characters. Like there was at a certain point there were probably scenes with her and every other character that made me go, okay, cool. I like Tony Stark now. All right, cool. Yeah. I like Hulk now. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I like Thor. Like, and that's because of her interactions with those characters that then granted those characters their own personalities that to me at first read as, okay, yeah, you're basically copy MCU Tony Stark. I'm surprised that they were able to break that barrier with me. But even past that, in general, there are so many story moments that I found myself either getting chills or being like, man, I can't believe they're doing this. I can't believe they're going here. I can't believe they're having this arc with this character. And again, that shocks me because again, that was another question we had coming out the beta of like, all right, what do we expect out of the story? Do we expect like that 8A mission and then just a bunch of random missions and then like a central cutscene and then a bunch of other random missions? But no, like the campaign is actually a pretty good, for the most part, like strung together, well-paced collection of cutscenes and gameplay in a way that didn't make the gameplay feel repetitive, which I think would be very easy to do with the gameplay in this game. Like the way they paced out the campaign, I'm actually shocked they were able to pull it off in the way they did, because it does feel like moment to moment you're doing different things. Like either you're exploring the forest with Kamala and Hulk, or you are having the sequences that we saw in the beta where you're exploring the Quinjet or whatever. The way they string that stuff together works really well, and it's just really well paced, and that helps it a lot. Outside of that, playing the non-campaign stuff, I had probably a good few hours playing yesterday with the friend Rihanna from What's Good Games, and at a certain point, I was just like, yeah, like this is take me back to how repetitive it can be, and take me back to how much I don't necessarily care about just the core gameplay. I think the brawling aspect is fun, and I think Andy's right in the sense that you get out of the combat system what you put into it and what you want to get out of it. But at a certain point, also, like, I don't necessarily care about gear. I still have the complaint that, yeah, like, gear doesn't show up on your character physically at all. And also combined with that, there's the fact that you're collecting new gear so rapidly that I find it hard to care about any single piece of gear I pick up, because it really does feel like, I find new things after a mission, I pause, hold L2 to auto equip, cool, then I move on, and I'm not really paying attention to it in any sort of meaningful way. Along with that, there's also, and I'm sure if I was like in the 30-hour mark into the game, I'd care more about this, but there are also moments where they introduce you to different types of systems and different types of specifically like gear and equipable items that like just went way over my head and seems like a thing I can totally ignore. But even just looking at it, I'm like, I can't tell like at what point I'm going to be fascinated with that, because the way they introduce it feels so random and so Destiny-esque in terms of like, oh yeah, like if you want to go to this vendor, like they'll be able to sell you this stuff if you collect this stuff and do these missions for them. It seems very.
You don't like the 19 different versions of currency in this game?
Not at all. But like, it seems so deep, and I'm like, all right, if we get to the point where I start to care about that, that's going to be amazing. But I don't feel like what the game has in it right now fits with those systems that they want to promise you in terms of those different types of currency and those different types of items that you can equip. I don't know if the game's at that place yet. Maybe if I get to the point where I'm at mission power 50 or whatever, I might change my mind, because then I'll realize the true like just the true meaning of all that stuff, or the true usage of that stuff. But yeah, like it felt weird in the way they introduced some of that stuff.
They force it on overall, you, and they do it in a way that doesn't make you care about it at all. They're like, okay, now you're Tony Stark, go introduce yourself to these 5 people that all have like different faction rewards or whatever. And look at the stuff, it's like, okay, well it's all the same image. It's a picture of the arm, it's a picture of like whatever. It's like, okay, I don't.
And I'm like, okay, what's a faction? Like, I still don't know what a faction is. Like, they don't introduce
talk about what factions are or what Imran's takes are on this game, which I'm very excited about. I want Greg to tell us about our sponsors.
This episode of the Kind of Funny Gamescast is brought to you by Lumen Skin. Here's a cold, hard truth, guys. Your skin has needs. If you want it to look as good as possible for as long as possible, you need to dress them right now. We get it. You might not know where to start, but there's a company that's taken all the guesswork out of it for you. Lumen. Lumen is on a mission to help give men the amazing skin they deserve through high-quality, expert-created products delivered right to your door. All of their products are formulated specifically for men's skin and made to target skin issues with maximum efficiency using top-notch ingredients like charcoal, green tea extract, and vitamin C. It's not just about looking good, it's about feeling good. You need good skin health, especially as you get older, to prevent long-term skin damage. Of course, our one and only Tim Gettys has been using Lumen Skin. He says it looks great, feels great. Gia likes it. What else do you need to know? Even if you have no idea where to begin, Lumen makes it so easy to find the right skin management system for you. Choose from different skin concerns to address, or just pick a simple starter pack for free. You deserve to look and feel your best, and here's where you start. Go to lumenskin.com/kindafunny to get a 1-month free trial of everything you need to start your skincare journey at home. That's Lumen, LUMIN skin.com/kindafunny to get your first month free. lumenskin.com/kindafunny. Our next sponsor, why it's AT&T 5G plus Samsung. Rooster Teeth is joining forces with Samsung and AT&T 5G to kick things off for our upcoming RTX at-home virtual event. We are currently creating a RWBY, I believe they pronounce that Ruby, outdoor mural that you can add your art to at home using the Mark Augmented Reality app. Just download the Mark app and start creating your own Ruby art starting on September 5th through September 7th. Each night, fans' designs will be projected on a mural wall, and you could see yours come to life on social. If you're on the AT&T 5G network at home, you can access Plus mode through the Mark app. So you will get the highest res video and crystal clear images to explore on the app. Explore? Yeah, okay. Check out the new Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra 5G powered by AT&T 5G. AT&T 5G requires compatible plan and coverage, not in all areas. Here are just some of the new features you can try out on this device. Cloud gaming will be available with the power of 5G. Try out cloud gaming with high-performance experiences brought to you via the newest Samsung devices powered by AT&T 5G. The Galaxy Note 20 Ultra 5G also has a 120 Hz adaptive display that automatically adjusts automatically adjusts the refresh rate according to the content you are viewing, an intelligent battery that optimizes for your gameplay. Head over to AT&T.com/Galaxy Note 20 Ultra 5G to learn how you can get the Samsung Galaxy Note 20 5G for free, or the Galaxy Note 20 5G Ultra for $299.99 for a limited time. That is AT&T. So it's ATT.com/Galaxy Note 20 Ultra 5G. And our final sponsor, ladies and gentlemen, it is Hims. Of course, you know about Hims. We know about Hims. Everybody knows about Hims because forhims.com/ well, I'm going to give you the thing right at the top, which I usually don't do. I usually make you wait for it. Today, I'll tell you. Forhims.com/kindafunny has been supporting Kinda Funny for quite a long time. Of course, Nick and Andy use forhims.com for their hair loss treatments. They noticed the hair was thinning. They went to forhims.com/kindafunny. They set up an appointment with the doctor, all online. The doctor talked to him online, said, okay, this is what you need, prescribed some generic well-known equivalents that were cheaper than if you went to get a real, if you went and got the name brand prescriptions. Then it was shipped to their door in discreet packaging. Now they've been eating these hair loss gummies. Their hair looks great. They're super happy about it. However, today, we're specifically talking about erectile dysfunction, something you should not be ashamed of. But guess what? A lot of folks are. They're so ashamed they don't make the appointment. They just live there being upset. You don't need to be upset. Instead of going to the doctor's office, calling somebody on the nurse's phone, driving there, waiting in the waiting room, you're going out of your house during a pandemic. It's a whole bunch of problems. You can instead go to forhims.com/kindafunny. You can make your appointment online, talk to the doctor online, and if they decide it is correct for you, they can prescribe you the generic, well-known equivalents to all that stuff that you would pay in the prescription aisle if you went and got. There's no prescription aisle, I guess, but you know what I mean. If you got the name brands, they don't do that. They don't play that game. Forhims.com is all about men's wellness. Need help with ED, hair loss, or have a cold? Interested in mental health or COVID-19 home tests? Hims is here for you. Try Hims today by starting out with a free online visit. Go to forhims.com/kindafunny for your free visit. That's forhims.com/kindafunny. forhims.com/kindafunny. Prescription products are subject to medical provider approval and require an online consultation with medical provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. See the website for full details and safety information at forhims.com/kindafunny.
Back to it. Imran.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on this game?
This game has been a roller coaster of up and down for me. Like the A-Day stuff was great because that's legitimately a part we haven't played before. Because it was every time we did a demo or a beta or whatever, it always started with the Golden Gate Bridge exploding and all that jazz. So that was cool. But then it started slowly rolling out a tutorial over things that didn't make it like the stealth sequence in Heroes Park. I hated that. I hated it so much because you would mess up and it would load for like 20, 30 seconds. And that is like, how did they not play test that a little bit or like go like, okay, maybe this shouldn't be an abrupt thing or maybe it's just like reloading at the beginning or whatever. Like it's things like that made me like go, okay, they didn't work out all the campaign kinks before they released this game. But
I'm so glad you tweeted that though, because I was like, I'm gonna one-shot this shit. And I
that's the thing that made me go like, I'm not feeling.
Yeah, I was really worried about it. But now, granted, a lot of the falling parts, I did just fall off the cliff and again load and reload and reload.
It sucks, man. It's it's not fun. And like this game is trying to aim to be fun in those points. And it's just like, oh, I'm loading again because of something that seems like wasn't in my control at all.
Yeah. Like I enjoyed the mission where you first get Iron Man, but then immediately after there's another mission where you have to like do a King of the Hill section as Iron Man, like in front of a building to open it up, and it is the worst section I've played in a long time. Like I legitimately died there like maybe 10 to 15 times just because here is a character that is almost entirely based on long range attacks, and you have to put him in a small circle against all these enemies surrounding him, and like. Because of the place where the game checkpoints, by the time I could go to that section, the Hulkbuster armor wasn't ready during the entire time. I'd have to just sit and wait for it to happen.
I feel like I know exactly which one you're talking about because I remember dying a bunch during one of those portions.
It's a single circle in front of the building. I know what you're talking about.
It's so small. That. It's like single player, so you can't like bring in friends to come help you with it. And it's like, okay, these are where the multiplayer hooks are starting to infect this game a little bit. And then like we talked about the faction stuff where I hate. Go ahead, Kevin.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have interrupted, but that was where I was stuck yesterday. Remember, Greg? I kept saying, like, I don't understand. They're just destroying me.
Yeah.
I do remember that.
It's not great. Like, Iron Man isn't meant for that kind of thing. He's meant to be like the character that flies in the or hovers in the air and shoots like picks out people or like grabs them off the balconies or whatever. He's not meant for like just standing there. And then the faction stuff, I don't like wandering around the Chimera. I don't like wandering around the anthill. Like none of that stuff is fun to me. And introducing myself to all these people who aren't Marvel superheroes, who aren't all that interesting to me, is like boring. I want to punch things, and I want more things like more Kamala Khan sections, more like superhero sections, all that stuff. Where I last left off was I just got Black Widow. And I think that is the most fun I've had with this game so far. Because she is legitimately fun. And she feels like a character action character. And I realized one of the reasons I'm not having fun with this game is they don't tell you how basic every single character starts off. You need to go down that skill tree and you need to buy a lot of things. And often they don't give you points up front to actually like choose what you want. So things like the leg sweep really makes a difference with Black Widow that I really liked doing that. That adds something to those fights. But if I didn't buy that, if I bought something else, if I went down guns or just like bought something without being able to really try it, then I might not have enjoyed that section. And I think that's what's been happening with those other sections too. That I bought this thing that like, okay, maybe this is cool. Maybe grabbing, like actually this is a bad example, but grabbing stuff with Kamala is cool. Like grabbing the enemy and like swinging them around.
Yeah, it is.
But if I bought like the thing that's just a strong attack from the air, would that have been as fun? Would that have been like, if I bought that instead, would I just be not enjoying those parts?
Dude, no joke. No joke, Imran. I was streaming it and I saw that part where you could unlock the Kamala grab somebody and then you could drag them around. And my immediate thought was that seems like it has a high probability of breaking.
Yes, it does.
Something fucking up, and I don't want to risk it, dude.
Like literally, what I do is I like pick people up and just drop them off the stage, and then like they're gone.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool.
It's so stupid. And that's the kind of thing I like about this game. And I think there's a kernel of something really good here, but it feels like I don't want to say they rushed it out, but it feels like the game didn't quite get where it was supposed to be. And maybe like that changes as I keep going further into the campaign or whatever. But like as the games as a service hooks keep coming, like infecting single player, I'm just kind of rolling my eyes a little bit like, this could be better, but you want to set up multiplayer so badly, you're not letting it be there.
I feel like I'm exactly where you're at. And you brought up the roller coaster with this game, and I am right there with you. Playing the beta, I was so high on this where I was like, it looks like I'm actually going to get a campaign out of this that I am very enthralled by, and there's going to be enough of switching from character to character. The moment in the beta that we switched from playing as Kamala to Hulk, to Banner, I was like, oh shit, wait a minute. The crystal dynamics that I'm expecting from this is going to shine through. And for as far as I am in this, somehow this game is at even more crosses in the road, like forks in the road than I expected, where I was like, oh, is this going to be Spider-Man 2018 versus Destiny? Now we're adding Spider-Man Neversoft from 1999 to it, where at moments like A-Day, I'm like, oh my God, they fucking get it. Like, this is so great. I'm loving Kamala. I'm loving everything they're giving to me as like a comic nerd / as someone that is not that deep into comics, but wants to know more. Give me the weird characters. Give me the MODOKs. Give me like a dope ass backstory to teach me and educate me on these weird things that these comic characters can do that I'm not familiar with. But somehow this game feels at a crossroads where it's MCU, but it's not. But here's Kamala as a different entryway into this, but it's not that different. And every time I'm invested in her story, we're going to introduce this stuff that's clearly multiplayer that we're putting into the single player because we have to, because that's what the real game is. And I keep being distracted from what the real game is, which is the end game. And that bothers me when anytime I'm like, oh man, Kamala just did something that's so endearing and I love it. Then all of a sudden she says something that I'm like, that doesn't feel in line with this character at all. This feels like the Neversoft Spider-Man game that is purely a comic book game that is like, we're going fucking all out and we're going to throw everything at it and it's going to be ridiculous. Like, she has a line in this early on where she says, if I could only have just won that fan fiction contest. Now look at me. I'm a freak. And I'm like, what the fuck? That is some comic book shit that you just translated now into a AAA video game that looks and sounds and feels like it's presenting itself as bigger than that. And those moments keep happening. They're then doubled down on like, oh, it's Dark Terrigen. Literally, the acronym for this is DARK.
That just feels dark anyway. Like, nobody actually acknowledges an acronym at all.
It's weird to me with as far as I am, where I'm just like,
wait,
you're
acronym?
Doubling down on. Sorry, what?
Acronym? What do you?
DARK
Terrigen. Yeah.
D.A.R.K Terrigen.
Oh, and what does it stand for?
I don't know.
They explain it in one of the early cutscenes in some dumbass way of like, that's the thing that gives them the cure. That's and it's like, okay, you're bad guys. And look, I'm not against that. If you're presenting the game that way, which Spider-Man Neversoft did, right? But this game looks like Spider-Man Insomniac.
Yeah, like they don't give story stuff time to breathe. And that is a little frustrating. Like, there's a scene where Kamala is like really distraught, like, am I the only Inhuman that wants to stand up? Then literally the next scene they solve it. Like, they didn't need to commit to that at all because it was like seconds before she got the answer to that question. You bring up a good point to me when you mentioned like, oh, this is the MCU. Well, Spider-Man is just Spider-Man. That feels like it should be involving more characters than it does. Like, there are like, I fought an elite sharpshooter as like a boss, as like they had a little cutscene introducing him. Why was that not just Bullseye? Or whoever or somebody. Like, why is MODOK the main character or the main villain, and that's just it? It's the Avengers. You could wrap more people in.
Yeah,
and that's where you get into the whole thing.
Abomination sold me on that in the beta, and that was the thing. I was like, oh shit, like they're gonna do that. And like, again, I am not too much farther, so I don't know if they do, but from how it seems like it's going, it's like there's been less abominations and more. I'm frustrated trying to open this fucking box, getting my camera right exactly to open this thing.
No, yeah, and you're 100%. I think that speaks to one of your criticisms of what the game really is shining through at points when you wouldn't expect it. Like, I think you're both correct, Imran and Tim, on that of like getting to the end. And again, no spoilers. MODOK's the main villain. We've already talked about Abomination, and then Taskmaster. We know Taskmaster. Jeez, I can't talk. We know from the Golden Gate Bridge, right? And guess what? Those are the main villain bosses you see. Yeah, there is no Bullseye. There is no Doctor Doom. There is no whatever. And if I had to bet why there isn't, right, it's because they want to put those out in 6 months, a year, whatever. There's going to be a big story arc they'll put out, which is awesome for somebody like me who's like, oh, cool, I love grinding and I love doing this and I love the world. But it also is that, all right, cool. Who's the big boss? Giant spider robot. All right. Who's the big boss? One of the fucking Adaptoids. All right. Well, this is who we're fighting. It doesn't have that. Here you go. It's the entire universe the way something like Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 does, right? Because Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 expansions notwithstanding is, hey, we are telling you the story. So let's go all out. Let's bring everybody in. Let's do this. And this one, for better or worse, is, hey, we're telling you this story of the Avengers getting double crossed, the rise of AIM, MODOK's the bad guy. So who do we put as underlings under there? But not too many. Obviously, if we bring in Daredevil one day, God, I hope so. We want to probably bring in Bullseye and Elektra to be in that storyline. So leave them over there. And what about, we can reference Captain Marvel, but would we want to bring in anybody like that? Probably not. Do this.
Well, it's a weird situation now where like Avengers and Fortnite has higher stakes in their Avengers storyline than Avengers does.
Sure.
I will say, I want to give props to the voice actor from MODOK. I thought he was awesome.
Yeah, he's real good.
There's that one. He has a really, really good monologue that just reminds me of typical villain monologue, comparing my situation to when I was a kid and this happened, and it was just just really good. I think he's a damn good actor. Yeah, as far as the other villains, I was kind of bummed out that for the most part it was just variant B and then variant C of this thing and then variant D of this other bigger thing, and they all it all did get a little bit samey or whatever. But I will say, shout out to the combat design team in terms of creating characters' movesets, because I guarantee you there was a discussion of, if Cap throws his shield at a robot's legs, should the robot be taken out at the legs? Because that could very much just be a lock-on throw, hits the body, nothing happens. But the fact that that sort of the fact that that sort of mechanic is inside of a games as a service shared universe game, shared online multiplayer, whatever you want to call it, I think shows that the combat team probably fought for a lot of these decisions and won a lot of them, luckily, because or else it would get a little bit samey. I don't know if I'll play this game multiplayer. I'll be honest with you. When we are in these bigger rooms and the whole team is together, I should have said smaller rooms rather. When you're in smaller rooms, it gets the same way as when we all played together, where parrying stuff, I can't even tell when I'm supposed to parry. I can't really. There's so much happening. There's so many colors and visual effects everywhere, and particles flying everywhere, that the idea of having a cohesive fight with an enemy seems impossible, because it how do you know when to parry or dodge or whatever? You're just kind of just at that point button mashing,
Yeah. Honestly, that's one of the reasons I'm actually surprised the game is as good as it is, because I feel like if you just look at it, this game almost feels like it shouldn't exist for what it is, right? It is a AAA Avengers game where it has a single player campaign that has a story that is an Avengers story that feels like it has the TLC put into it, but it also is this game as a service game with mechanics that are built around multiplayer and built around using all these different characters in a roster that's going to be ever expanding, right? And so you're going to add Hawkeye, you're probably going to add Black Panther at some point, you're going to add Spider-Man and all these different characters, and you're going to have to, for them, they had to build a system that worked for an ever expanding roster. And along with that, they also have to make a game that works in single player. They have to make a game where you can have gear and have these RPG systems. And to what you said, Andy, you have to make a game to where the combat actually feels good as a brawler. And so when you throw your shield as Cap, you're sweeping people at the legs. When you're throwing your hammer as Thor, you're then you're aiming that and calling it back in specific ways. When you're using Iron Man, you're electrocuting enemies, and all that stuff has to work. The fact that they're able to pull this off this well is actually surprising, even though I feel like the end product is definitely rough around a lot of the edges. I do want to give him props for that, and also want to echo Andy and shout out the voice acting, because I think the voice acting is off the chain. And I will also say that in terms of Abomination and Taskmaster, I didn't really like any of them. I think MODOK was good, but Abomination, and maybe I'll see Abomination again before the game ends. But for the time,
the acting or the fighting,
just the character, the writing for Abomination and Taskmaster. Taskmaster, I think I've seen once maybe, and even honestly, even bringing his voice acting into it, I was like, that's not how Taskmaster's supposed to sound. You sound
Taskmaster
lame.
Was pretty non-existent. It felt
I feel like both Abomination felt more existent than Taskmaster, but even for Abomination, I feel like I've seen him twice now, and he's not really had an impact on the story, really. Really, it is just MODOK, and it's kind of disappointing, but also at the same time, I get it for what Greg said, right? They want to build the roster and the story over time, and so we're probably going to see Thanos at year 5 or whatever. But even still, I kind of wish we got more out of that.
It's weird for me because you bring up the crossroads thing, where it's this game is at a crossroads. And I think that in so many ways, to go off on a joke for a second that I legitimately mean, this game does remind me of Fast and Furious Crossroads, where that's a game that so much love has been put into in terms of character and story. And the people that made that game gave a fuck about the Fast and Furious universe. The people that made this clearly give a fuck about these characters. And Andy, to your point about the combat design, it's damn, seeing Hulk move, it's holy shit, that's how he moves in the MCU movies. Like that's what we know of Hulk, like the way he jumps up and grabs things to propel and like shoot himself off, the way that Tony's like kind of like doing his like combos.
Repulsor,
it's like holy shit, this is so MCU. And like yet the game feels at a crossroads where it's looking at itself like, but we're not MCU. It's like, but you are in the ways that we enjoy the most. And otherwise, I'm like, I'm so in the story. I love the story. Like, I want to see where this is going. I can't wait for the DLC campaign stories. Like, that's the weirdest thing for me, where it's like, for as much as I'm not enjoying this game, because like, real talk, I am not enjoying this. I am enjoying the plot. But I'm constantly asking myself, why am I playing this instead of just watching this? Right. And I think that is an issue, but it's also a compliment. Like, they made a good story so far, at least that I've played. I'm here for it. I want to know where everyone's at. Like when I met up with Tony, I was like, I'm in. I get it. Like I love the way that they introduce his character and the way that he comes back. I'm just like, seeing you interact with Kamala, it feels like a good animated show. And that's why it's like when I question some of the writing on it, it's like you're presenting this game as if it's something that it's not, at least in the campaign. You're presenting it as if it's this multiplayer game that is what the game is, but I don't want that. So when I have to do the gameplay stuff, like we get to a thrilling moment as Iron Man that, like, to me at least, feels like the AAA moment of the game of here's the Iron Man set piece where music's playing, you're going through, there's a fun moment. And I'm like, I'm not having fun. Like this kind of seems like a huge missed opportunity that literally swinging in Spider-Man Insomniac feels fun. Doing the moment as Iron Man is kind of like,
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I felt the same way. Like it was that moment felt to me in a game that has so much heart. The aspects they took from the MCU, and to be clear, they absolutely took these from the MCU. Whether they say otherwise or not, they're lying. But the parts they took from the MCU, they feel cynical, and those are the things that just, like I look at those like, okay, you did the thing from the movie, but you didn't do it as well. And like after the Avengers beta on PS4 last time, I went back and I watched Civil War, I watched Infinity War and Endgame, and God, those movies are fucking good. And then I come back to this, it's like, this isn't hitting me the same way. I'm not sure it's because of a lack of familiarity. I think it's because it's too familiar. It's too familiar, but not quite there. And that's how, like, I wish they had just gone full hog on the Kamala Khan story and told that story to the fullest potential, rather than like going, okay, but no, we know you guys love MCU, so we're gonna throw a little bit of that in there for you.
Silence. I like how low Tim's gate is, so he goes like this and then talks, but you can't hear him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I just said
yeah. Whenever you were doing the Iron Man repulsors, it always gets muted out.
Oh well, you're better than I am.
So Corey, I definitely want to see a GIF of that of him doing the repulsors.
I can't wait for these new mics are on the way. They're lost. The shipping is stuck in Hong Kong, and at some point they will be sent to us, and we'll all have Andy's mic, and it'll be fantastic.
Hey, neat.
But until then, we're stuck here. So any closing thoughts right now on Avengers?
Yeah, I just don't think I'll play the multiplayer. I know I said that earlier, but I just feel like it'll be a bit too messy, and I didn't really ever utilize these vendors like I probably should have been using them in the campaign. And I know they're there, and I know you're supposed to want to use them and upgrade your stuff, but I was able to do.
Like, because you tell me, actually, I guess you're not, you and I are kind of in the same level of Destiny players, right? Where we play them in Bounce or whatever, right? Like, I mean, when I came in and was like, oh, you just ripped off Destiny's loot system and everything, and gear vendors and everything else, to me, that immediately meant, cool, I don't need to pay attention to any of these fucking vendors in terms of what they're selling, in terms of getting the assignments from the different factions or whatever. That I knew was important. That is obviously helping you level and do a bunch of different stuff. But I saw the vendors and I was like, oh, and it's been interesting the amount of friends who are starting to play this and like, hey, hitting me up and like, I know you're into it. I don't play games as a service. What I'm like, don't pay attention to any of it. Just they're like, well, the gear and the buffs. I'm like, do not pay attention to that to level cap. Don't even worry. Right now, just go ahead and hold L2 and let it auto assign the best stuff. Don't worry about that. And I think it's going to be so interesting because what you're talking about, Andy, of you not coming back to it from the single player, I think that's going to be the majority of the peers that we see on Twitter. I see so many people talking about how great the story was and how it caught them off guard. I don't expect them to hang out and get to power level 150, right? Level 150. So it'll be interesting to see how many people get into the minutia of what the multiplayer is / endgame, and if that matters to them, or if they play their 10-hour campaign and a few things with the few of the iconic missions, which I think have interesting storylines attached to them, play those and then bounce and just go, okay, cool, that was cool. And then do the thing, which I think is totally justified, like Tim's talking about, of, all right, cool, now the Kate Bishop storyline drop, jump in, play that, bounce out. Yeah. All right, Clint drop in, play that. Spider-Man's out, let's jump in and play that and bounce. And then there'll be the people who are, whether it's me or not, grinding at 150 and trying to do all these different things.
Yeah, I feel like that's where I'm more at, where story missions will bring me back. And I can't believe how on the other side of the spectrum I am with this compared to games like Destiny and Borderlands, where I could give a lesser fuck about those stories. Like, they don't really, like, I don't, I'm playing those games with friends because I don't need to listen to the story. And I'm sure they're good. I'm sure like a lot of lore people out there love them, but I'm just having fun with my friends shooting shit. In this game, it was like, I don't want to play with people. I want to just concentrate on the story and not be, because you know what happens. You join up with friends, you start fucking around and making jokes, and you lose the whole thread of the plot and everything. So it's crazy. I thought I would want to be in for the multiplayer, and just not really at all, unfortunately.
What's been fascinating for me on the other side of it, right? And what I think is interesting, where we've talked about with, when they drop a new hero, everyone's going to want to play as that hero, and it's going to fuck everything up, and like, you can't do it or whatever. What I found interesting is when I beat the story and started in on Endgame, it was only me and Goldfarb that I knew that were there and were ready to go do that kind of stuff. And so I started doing all the iconics by myself, which in an iconic mission is like a story, like a premier story, quest structured, multi-mission quest kind of quest thing. Line. Yeah, thank you. I don't know why I struggled on that so bad. And for me personally, not all of them. I think Thor's is the best example. When you when that becomes available, go play that to get a taste of it, because I think it opens really interestingly, and you see like, oh man, they could tell interesting stories in these outside of the campaign, right? But when I did it, I went and played it by myself, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is really, I'm enjoying this. This is cool. And I played as Thor, and I had that like, this is I'm in this moment. This is a single player mission, which it wasn't. I could have played it with other people, right? And then Sean beat it last night, and so today we went, and I was like, do the Thor mission, and he obviously played as Thor, and I jumped in as Kamala, right? And it was that I'm now leveling a different character, bringing her in here. I'm also trying to stay quiet, trying to have a discussion with him about whatever bullshit around and do this. I understand everything of the repetition that people have talked about, and I understand the criticism I was seeing Tom Marks at IGN level of like if it's just the same environment and the gear doesn't matter, like what's the big deal and why does it work? Like for me, the experience I'm having with it of replaying things I've already played, right? Of like, oh, Goldfarb, you want to do this? Yeah, I've already done it, but no big deal. Jumping in there and doing that, it is that idea that I do like the combat, and I do really appreciate, I do want to chase levels, and I do want to make, I like playing it with Cap, my main, and seeing like what it's like to be a level or power level 65 or whatever it is, and do all this different stuff. And then starting it the next day with Sean and playing as Kamal and being smaller and working my way back up to getting my third skill tree thing, which is mastery, and doing all that stuff. Like there's that kind of campaign to it, but I totally get where people are like, that's just, Andy's like, I'm out after this problem.
This feels like a strange criticism / suggestion, but I feel like the game needs some sort of competitive aspect to it. And I know they can't do the Destiny thing of they can't do deathmatch, right? Because that doesn't necessarily make sense in this game. But if they did have it so that you are competing against friends in like a brawler type mode where you are
more damage,
NPCs, like trying to get like a higher score. Like I feel like it needs something like that, because I think that is the thing that is when I compare this game to my experience with Destiny, I kind of have a weird inverse kind of thing where Destiny, I can give a fuck about the story. I do not care about the story of Destiny at all. But Destiny 2 has some of the best FPS mechanics I played this gen. Like that's some of the best experience I've had with a game for like a prolonged experience of time this gen, right? Like this game, that game was incredible for gameplay. This game is the opposite thing, where I will play the Hawkeye thing. I will play the Spider-Man thing. I'm very much looking forward to the story that they have to tell in this game, because I really like what I played of story in this game. But on the gameplay level, that's where I start to be like, all right, I just don't care. And I think one of the things that Destiny has is the fact that I can interact with it in different ways. I spent half my time playing Destiny, probably in competitive, having a great time. And I feel like if this game had something along those lines to vary up the ways in which you're interacting with the game, that goes such a far way. Because at this point where I'm at, I feel like it is every mission comes down to punch things, and that is this game. Like, I can't really take that away from it, but at the same time, I think for me and for a lot of people that becomes boring at a certain point.
I literally got a mission prompt earlier today that was like punch the lock.
I was gonna say it was 4 hours ago. I was about to bring it up. You put up the tweet video games, and it's a mission line to stand alone, punch the lock mechanism.
Yes, and like you guys are talking about, like, okay, when Hawkeye comes out, when Spider-Man comes out, I'm eager to play that, and that's true. I want to play those characters, but also I'm like, there's a part of me that goes, okay, but what if it's just the same aim hallways again? And that's what's going to bother me. And like, I think this game would benefit a lot from Destiny's expansion style stuff of like, okay, this is a new story expansion idea. And if it doesn't have that, if it doesn't go like, we're really changing things up with this season, where this new expansion for this year is going to be like, this is like Blessing said, like Thanos is this one, or Doctor Doom, or whatever. That's what I think this game needs. And if it's not that, I don't think I'm going to stick around that long. Like, I will play it. I'll probably enjoy each new character for the, I want to say like an hour of view content they'll probably offer, but I don't think I'm going to go like, okay, well now I've done this, I'm going to take Spider-Man to the multiplayer, because every fucking person is going to be Spider-Man anyway, so probably not.
Yeah, I just want to
always gladly. You can be the new character, and I'll be somebody old. Don't worry.
Okay.
I'll be Black Widow. I wanted to clarify that I'm not excited for the new characters just so I could play them. Yeah, it is hopefully the story content.
Sure, the narrative that comes with them. Yeah,
like whether it's like 2-3 hours of whatever, I'm totally down to do that. Just because exactly. We're gonna take Aim Blessed, because I mean, look, they've shown that despite this game being as problematic as it is, they could still come through and tell what I think is a neat, touching story. Now, towards the end of it, it gets fucking weird as shit, and I was really kind of, I didn't love the ending of this game, but the final moment, just like Greg,
I hate hearing that. Oh no.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
I had a weird thing with the iconic missions where, like, there's a point in the story where a character gets, let's say, they're no longer involved in like the main villain part of it, and you actually have a mission that involves that character, like a side quest for Hulk's iconic story. So I went and did that while that character is indisposed, and they're still in the mission. And it was like, okay, but you knew when you guys were writing this, you knew that this character would get captured, and you also knew that the side mission has to do with that. So why didn't someone just go, no, stop one of these? One of these can't happen, because otherwise it makes no sense.
If this, then that.
Yeah. And like, the game is weirdly immersion breaking. Like, there's a mission you have to go on as Kamala, and the game just auto-populates Iron Man into there, even though it doesn't make sense for Iron Man to be on that mission. And they don't say anything. He's not like in the story at all. He's just there. And it's like, okay, but why is he not talking to this other character who he knows, and they would have dialogue together?
There's a specific Iron Man costume that they give you that exposes his face, and it's one of the first costumes they'll give you for Iron Man. And I automatically equipped it because I was like, I really like this costume. But in cutscenes, they register it as he's in his masked costume. And so there was a moment in my story where Iron Man, I'm playing as Kamala, Iron Man floats to me and says some things, but his mouth doesn't move because they didn't animate his mouth to move. And that was a moment where I was like, yeah, I know what this is. I know what kind of game I'm playing now.
I like how you try to attach it to that. I've definitely had fucking Captain America, whose mouth's always exposed, not move his mouth when he talks to me. I'm like, all right,
NPCs will occasionally just like stop talking for me. Like, the guy mouth stop moving.
The guy in the newscast, when you go to the break room, he never animated for me, and I thought like, and I thought maybe this is what they're going for, like a minimal thing where they're just showing a character kind of moving, his mouth's not syncing to the dialogue. Maybe that was the point of this. Maybe that's the direction. And it happened like that for the first like 4 times, and then when I went back another time, his mouth was animating for like a split second, then stopped. I was like, oh no, it's just broken. Yeah.
With that, I had it so that I was walking by the TV and they're like saying some stuff, and I was like, whatever. And as I was walking past, I was like, wait, no, this is actually interesting. And so I backed back to it to see what the TV was, and they just like stopped talking, and I was like, oh dang.
I have this all the time. Like, I have really good dialogue happening, and then like a fight will start happening. It's like, oh, well, I guess I just missed out whatever that like banter was between Miss Marvel and Iron Man.
Yeah.
Great game.
Honestly, I appreciate how much conversation there is about this game. Like there's so much good, there's so much bad. Like I don't think we've had this type of game in a very long time. Like, can you guys think of an example?
Death Stranding.
Something this divisive? I honestly
Death Stranding.
Like,
it's weird because I don't even think this game is divisive. I think everybody's kind of on the same page that like this game does some good stuff, and there are some things that they really should fix about this game. But it's not like Death Stranding where there are people that are like, this game is terrible, and there are other people like, this game is a masterpiece.
Here's like, I think a more interesting. Well, sorry, Imran, you have something to chime in.
I was gonna say it's like simultaneously more than some of its parts and less than some of its parts, depending on like the way you look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the interesting thing is like coming out of the beta, the conversation there and the conversation now. I feel like I've now like ascended to like one of the more positive people on this game out of the group, which I was not expecting. Like it seems like that type of game where it depends on the day you play it, you might feel good about it.
I think that's what you're doing when you have, and I don't mean this as offensive as it will sound, but as a Frankenstein game that is two very separate things put together and done well in some examples and done horribly in some examples, right? Where it is this really compelling single player that's doing something interesting, but then the multiplayer parts will jade some people on that or throw them off. And then the multiplayer section that I'm super stoked to go through, again, a guy who had fucking Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 and spent an entire flight to New York as Ms. Marvel's doing the spin kick to earn XP to try to get everyone to 100, right? Like these are very specific things that I, as somebody who was high on it from the betas and excited for it, right? And again, knowing what it was, I'm shocked so many people are into this. I definitely thought when I was going to be like the odd man out of like, I like it a lot. And I want people, it's cool that people like it, but it is this thing of like, I get why people would like it for one thing and not for the other. And then how do you ever get to the point that it feels more than this or that?
You know what I compare it to?
What's that, Andy?
To, Greg? I compare it to the plant-based nugs we had, the plant-based chicken nuggets.
But no one liked those.
Sounds disgusting.
No, but they were fine tasting for the fact that they weren't chicken. And that's my thing with this is like the fact that this game is like even does anything good at all with the campaign is really shocking to me.
Yeah, okay.
Because of everything else, because it's again, it is a Frankenstein. There's so many moving parts. There are so many things that you can't do perfectly this one thing because everything else is going to suck. So you have to make kind of all these different aspects of it just good enough. And to me, it is just good enough, and it's enjoyable to the point where I would say, yeah, I think this campaign is absolutely worth playing. It is especially if you're a Marvel fan. Like if you're a Marvel fan, absolutely fucking play this game. The other day, I think we do get so jaded just in the positions that we are and the amount of games that we play. But whenever I raid people on Twitch, I always try to look for somebody who's like really has a low viewer count. Sure. I mean, let's go make this person's day. And this guy was playing this game and he like freaked the fuck out. He was like, guys, this game fucking rules. If you're a Marvel fan, you're going to fucking love this shit. And it's like, and like, it absolutely. And I couldn't agree more. When I heard him say that, I was like, you know what? Yeah, if you are a Marvel fan, this game fucking rules, dude. You get to play as like all these Avengers and they have interesting movesets that are not feeling samey. And there's still like this compelling story and it's heartfelt. And yeah, dude, like, it's so shocking to me that this game the campaign is good. I am very surprised by that fact. And again, the plant-based nuggets, not great, but the fact that they're not chicken, it's like, not bad.
Oh, yeah, I can't believe they pulled it off. Fried food.
They did it. Like, go with Andy's
all
analogy.
The chickens disappeared.
It may not be Marvel Spider-Man or Spider-Man PS4, but it's still fine.
It is still fine. It is still fine. And ladies and gentlemen, with that, we're going to end this episode of Kind of Funny Gamescast. You can stay tuned to the Patreon post show if you're a Patreon silver member or above that we're about to do right now. But until then,
Tim, hold on. Before you tell them you love them and sign off, I want to know if I can propose my question so they know what I'm asking and we can talk about that in the post show.
Oh, go for it.
My question is, I want to have a conversation of how this is starting as a games as service, and is it starting stronger than what we've seen before? And what do you think? Can you extrapolate that out to what that looks like, right? In terms of how a Destiny originally started, how Anthem originally started. I mean, obviously Anthem sucked, but you know what I mean? Of like, since we're all going like, all right, cool. Yeah, there's something here, whether you enjoy it as much as me or as little as Tim, like there's something here that we're excited for to come back for content. Do you think that extrapolates out that multiple years from now, it's fucking awesome? That was my question.